I can't wait. They want to make a run. They want to make their stamp on it. So let's let the chips fall where they may.
Welcome to episode 413 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. And then there were four. The Western Canadian Baseball League postseason rolls on as the four division series have came and went. In the end, it was the Okotoks Dawgs, Sylvan Lake Gulls, Moose Jaw Miller Express, and Saskatoon Berries emerging victorious. And yes, this pains me to say, Ian's bold takes from last week's show hold up, while mine of one upset did not. Kudos to him on that. As it turns out, we co-hosted a special postseason edition of the WCBL Report on Monday, so we thought we'd share that conversation on this edition of the podcast. Enjoy. Greetings and salutations, friends. Welcome to the WCBL Report. I am Joe McFarland. Clark is away for this time around. He'll be back a little bit later on in the week. We'll get to that in a second. But what a last few days it has been around the Western Canadian Baseball League as the postseason is underway and a field of 8 teams looking to capture the Harry Hallis Trophy is now down to just 4. Who are those final 4 and what are the matchups going to bring? Let's get a little bit more insight, shall we? And welcome to the program, Ian Wilson. He is the co-founder of Alberta and Saskatchewan Dugout Stories and is the media coordinator for the Western Canadian Baseball League. Ian, how has the last few days been in the Wilson household?
Oh, we don't want to go there. let's stick to base. Yeah, it's chaos. My mom is moving to my neighborhood from Medicine Hat, so it's lots of conversations with plumbers and tradespeople about fixing things up and blinds people and all that. It's boring and busy. Well, it's not boring for me, but it's boring to everyone listening. So yeah.
And how about the baseball scene? How are you feeling about round one?
The baseball is that side of things is great. You may notice I am wearing a hat that says Okotoks. I'm just going to get it out of the way early. This is not an Okotoks
addressing the
Dawgs
elephant
hat.
in the room already.
It is a Road to Okotoks hat, and I wore it for a couple reasons. One, I was boots on the ground in Okotoks for that first round for that matchup between the Dogs and the Energy City Cactus Rats. And then number 2, we are going to discuss the Sylvan Lake Gulls and Dogs rivalry. That took another level, took on a whole other depth to it at the Road to Okotoks, where Dogs Academy faced off against Gulls Prep in the final for the Morneau Cup, which was won by Dogs Academy. So no allegiances here, just an acknowledgement. That was a great event, great tournament, and I've been in Okotoks the last little bit here. So
I can't wait to ask you at the end of the show who your favorite or who you're picking. No, I won't. I won't put you, especially as the media coordinator. I won't put you along there. Hey, let's get back to round one for a minute. Let's recap things, and we'll start things back up on Friday as we roll through some of the score sheets. And yeah, your eyes are not deceiving you with that first score. 24-7, the Okotoks Dawgs taking the Energy City Cactus Rats to task in a very offensive-laden game one, capturing first blood in that one for the Dogs. In the other Play Alberta West Division matchup, the Sylvan Lake Gulls scoring 6 in the 5th inning en route to the 9-2 drubbing of the Lethbridge Bulls. We were almost expecting that one to a certain extent, although we had a bit of a change in there come day 2. We'll get to that in a second. The Gulls seem to be on a bit of a roll. The Bulls were having some struggles of late. Kind of, like I said, kind of expecting that, but game 2 saw something different. We'll get to that. Also, how about that wild one? Moose Jaw, Medicine Hat, 10-9 final. Here's the storyline in that one. The Miller Express scored 6 in their half of the first inning. Medicine Hat said, oh, we can do that too. They scored 8 in the top of the second. They end up exchanging runs. Then the Miller Express pulled ahead for good in the 7th inning en route to the 10-9 victory there. And Aiden Killshaw, the young high schooler, providing the kill shot of sorts for the Saskatoon Berries in game 1, a 3-run home run in the 8th inning of that one to capture the 7-3 victory and first blood in that opening round series. Shifting gears to Saturday, And much the same in Okotoks. This series was not close. 16-6 was the final. So for a total 40-13, the run scored for Okotoks over Energy City. Can that offense keep rolling? We're going to find out as Okotoks cements its hand into the second round of the WCBL postseason. Elsewhere, as mentioned, Lethbridge Bulls pulling the exact same trick on the Sylvan Lake Gulls, scoring, yes, 6 runs. Yes, in the 5th inning, the exact same situation, just a different, slightly different score, still a 7-run differential. 10-3 the final there. The Moose Jaw Miller Express pulling away in this one. They scored, again, weirdly, 6 runs in the 5th inning. Didn't have to look back at all as they beat the Medicine Hat Mavericks 12-5 and complete the 2-game sweep. And finally, it's the Regina Red Sox. Brady Bye playing hero again. Tell me if you've heard that storyline before, aka 2025, as the Regina Red Sox force a third and deciding game with a 5-3 victory over Saskatoon. So we turn the page to 2 matchups going the distance in the WCBL's division series, and it is the Saskatoon Berries walking away with a 5-3 victory thanks to Nick Stinson picking up 3 hits, including a home run and 3 RBI in that 5-3 victory over Regina. The defending champions are out, and a new champ will be crowned in 2026. Meantime, the early game, they started at 5 o'clock on Sunday, and this thing was an absolute beaut from a pitcher's perspective. Although Charlie Collins had something to say about it, he's been red hot for the last few weeks of the season here. He went 4 for 4 with 2 RBI. The Gulls edged the Lethbridge Bulls 3-2 and get themselves a date with the Okotoks Dawgs in round number 2. Ian, that was a lot. Let's start with how things wrapped. I mean, you had a front row seat, so to speak. Let's start in. Actually, we'll start in the East first off. Let's go there. Moose Jaw Miller Express, Medicine Hat Mavericks. This was a series that you and I talked about late last week, and we said, hey, if Moose Jaw's pitching does what they do best, this series isn't going to be close. We also said Medicine Hat's offense, they've been pretty darn good all year long. Can they finally get to the Moose Jaw pitching staff? We saw a little bit of everything, despite the fact that this was a 2-game series.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think, one of part of our discussion about this series was, or my thinking around it was, Medicine Hat was going to have to find a way to win a high-scoring game. Well, right out of the gate, you get that game in game 1, and the Millers come out on top 10-9. That I feel like that was kind of the game where Medicine Hat had to get that one to make it a series. They didn't, and from there, I didn't think Medicine Hat had the pitching overall, and Moose Jaw's lineup is a wagon as well. So they got the hits they needed, they got the run production they needed, very businesslike, very professional like, and Moose Jaw is moving on. So I don't know what else did you see out of that.
That was one of those series again. I beg the question. Weston Walls, Jacob Glazner, even Sean Bavis saw a lot of innings pitched over the course of the season. And I said, is it possible that these arms might be getting a little bit tired? And the Medicine Hat Mavericks really tried their best to do it. And they got to Weston Walls early. He didn't have a great line, although he did pitch 6 innings in that opening win. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't the best of outings. And so I think that's going to be a key to their round 2 battle against Saskatoon, to be honest, is can the Saskatoon Berries get to Weston Walls whenever he starts? We don't know if he's going to be game 1 or game 2 or how he's going to play in, but there's going to be that sense of if Medicine Hat can do it, we've got to get to them too. So I'll be curious how that all plays out. The other series went the distance, and this was a fun series to watch. It was very back and forth throughout. What were your big takeaways from Saskatoon and Regina?
Two fairly evenly matched teams. Slightly surprising in that I thought Saskatoon, was the better team on paper. Obviously, they come out of that series. And I think, what you see from Regina there is they're the defending champs, and they have enough of the players from that team last year. Jalen Myers had a good series. Brady Bye, you talked about playing hometown hero for Regina. He was doing that. And so good pitching from Keegan Baker in game 1. So I just think Regina was doing everything they could within their power to get past, and they played with a lot of pride. Just ran into a Saskatoon team that this year was the better team.
Absolutely. When that game 3, I got to tell you, was a very back and forth contest as well. And like, you, I couldn't help but feel watching that thing like, is this a repeat of 2025? Right? Like, there was that
Yeah.
feeling of, holy moly, these two teams, the Berries just couldn't seem to pull away at all. And you're going, is this where a late inning heroic comes into play? Does Brady Bye have another home run in his system? That kind of thing. This might actually suit the Saskatoon Berries very well in that they faced some adversity even in this first round playoff series, postseason series. They might be able to take this one forward. Tell me about what you saw when we look ahead to Saskatoon and Moose Jaw. Do you think that that's going to play a factor for the Berries going into round 2?
So a couple things based on what you said there. One is that game 3, one play that really stood out, and I'm blanking on the inning, but Ethan Murdoch made a ridiculous catch with 2 out with the bases loaded for the Red Sox. That just killed, the game was in the balance at that point. That could have saved the game and the season. And Ethan Murdoch, I think at that point was like 0 for 4 at the plate. So he wasn't doing, he wasn't doing his normal production at the plate. But that play and that catch, and I encourage you to go look for it online. I believe Scott Roblin captured video of that, and just a tremendous catch. That was just a great play, and just it speaks to the ways that they'll win and how they'll grind. And a guy like Murdoch, just like, the bat's not working, okay, that's fine. My glove will do the work. Looking ahead, I expect peak chaos out of these two teams. Anyway, this will be the third time that they've met, third year in a row that they've met in the postseason. The Millers, so the Berries defeated the Minnesota Mavericks in their first year in 2024, and then lost to the Millers in 3 games. I'm trying to remember if it was a sweep or 3 games. Anyway, and then last year was crazy, between these two. And you had to go the distance. You had Carter Beck hit a walk-off grand slam in extra innings to win it. And even within that third game, the momentum swings and the lead changes were just wild. Weston Walls was a big part of that series. He's back this year. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder from that. So I'm definitely not going to lay a prediction on that one. Except for maybe saying that I expect it to go 3 games. And it's, like I said, I think these are 2 pretty good rivals. Now they've developed that. And I don't know. I was almost slid into prediction territory. I'm not going to do that. But I just think, both lineups can hit. They both have great pitching. It's, I don't know, flip a coin. I don't know if you see things like it's hard to really give one team the edge in that series.
Speaking of hard to give an edge in a series, let's shift our attention over to the Play Alberta West Division now. And let's start with the games that you had a firsthand glimpse at. Was it really as lopsided as that 40-13 two game series sweep by the Okotoks Dawgs look?
It was, but the only area that might be slightly deceptive is when the Cactus Rats had their starting pitchers going. The game was close in that time frame. So it didn't mean that the Cactus Rats weren't giving up runs. They were, but it would be like 6-5 or 7-6 in those first 4 innings or so. And then you could tell that the Cactus Rats pitching was just stretched a little thin. They're probably leaving pitchers in that because they just didn't have other arms to go to, really. And so kudos to them for just grinding it out. And the Cactus Rats, they did put up runs in the early stages of those games. It was just when you got to the bullpen of the Cactus Rats, that lineup just teed off. And that offense is legit. I don't know if the offense of the Dogs can do exactly what they did. That's a lot of runs against Sylvan Lake. But I mean, you run up and down the lineup. You look at Cal Gates, I think was 5 for 5 the first game. Jordan Keeveman had a couple home runs that first game. Eric Matchy was hitting the ball hard. Nash Crowell, that guy was crazy. Like he had I think every at bat I saw, even when he was getting out, they were loud outs. They were like
Mhm.
he was hitting them hard, like line drives to the outfield that were caught, and he was just he looks dialed in. He also stole a base in the second game. He had a
Mhm.
triple in that series.
Yeah.
For those who don't know the physique of one Nash Crowell, he's a burly guy, I guess I would describe him as. But he can hustle for a guy of his stature. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think the series obviously, yes, it was decisive. It should have been decisive. It was closer in the earlier stages. I think just based on the pitching situations. So yeah, it was. They were dogs were flexing. They didn't like losing to Sylvan last year. They want back to. For them, it's always championship or bust, and I think they sent a message in that first round.
Absolutely. I got the sense, especially watching that series unfold, is there was some message sending going on. Even there was an early back and forth hit by pitch between Energy City and Okotoks where I was like, oh, you're going to play this game. All right, well, we'll just tee off on you when we get an opportunity, right? And to that point, a shout out to Salmata, the Energy City starter in game two. I think he threw 119 or 120 pitches over 6 innings. He was, as much as you can be as dialed in as you can against this Okotoks team, he kept them close. It was 7-6 going
Yeah,
into the bottom of the seventh when they turned the ball over to the bullpen, and then Okotoks proceeded to put up 5 in the 7th, another 4 in the 8th, and that finished things
yeah,
off. Or sorry, five in the 8th and 4 in the 9th, and that made that game 2 16-6 final a little more lopsided than maybe it would have appeared, as you mentioned, in the early stages there. So Okotoks, the fifth time in 5 seasons post COVID, if you date back even further, 6 and 6, 5 out of 6 that they've been in this spot, or 6 out of 6, pardon me. They're looking for a fifth championship in 6 years now, and they're going to be going up against familiar rival, the Sylvan Lake Gulls, in a very back and forth. And again, I think all 3 series were completely different in the way they all
yeah.
played out. And Sylvan Lake and Lethbridge was certainly that. You had a very decisive game 1 win, a very decisive game 2 win, and then a nail biter to finish things off. What did you take away from Sylvan Lake and Lethbridge?
Well, I thought, coming down the stretch, and again, we talked about this last week. Excuse me. I thought Lethbridge was kind of running on fumes to end the season. I thought, I don't know that we can expect too much. So kudos to them for pushing that series to, not only pushing it to 3 games, but it's not like they weren't outclassed or upstaged in that third and decisive game. It was a 3-2 game. Excuse me. So I think Sylvan, better team on paper. They just had enough to prevail. They obviously won decisively game 1, lost decisively game 2, and then that game 3, just a great pitching matchup. Braden Stewart out of the bullpen for Sylvan. I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember how many innings he had. He was two plus innings.
Two plus.
Just shutting the door completely on Lethbridge when they desperately needed a run to keep their season alive. So yeah, I just Sylvan just they just were dominant when they needed to be. Maybe dominant's the wrong word. They were just good enough when they needed to be, and I expect this next series to be quite something.
A ring a ding dong dandy, as the great Ed Whalen would have said way back in the day, a former Calgary Flames play-by-play man who is no, and also can't forget about a wrestling announcer as well. When you look ahead to Okotoks and Sylvan Lake, you mentioned the fact that, hey, they got to meet up in the Road to Okotoks Morneau Cup Championship as well, taking that to a whole other level. But you've got some interesting tie-ins here too, because you've got a Sylvan Lake Gulls team that has a few familiar faces from that tournament. I noticed Dane Liskey's on that bench, Braxton Bussing's on that bench, Zach McDonald's on that bench. Those are three of a few guys who are going to be helping maybe bolster that roster, as guys might have to start going towards college at some point here. And on the flip side, Okotoks is probably saying, hey, don't worry, we've got a few aces up our sleeve too who happen to be on that Dogs Black team that won it all. What are you expecting out of Dogs versus Gulls V5?
Yeah, and in speaking with Jeff Duda, excuse me, I brought Clark. Clark's not with us today, but I brought his cough.
I was going to say.
But I spoke with Jeff Duda in Okotoks. He was the Dogs Academy coach who won that, who guided that team to a Morneau Cup. And I said, are there any of these guys going to be on the main Dogs roster? And he rattled off a bunch of names. It's more than a half dozen guys. So a lot of those guys are stepping from the road to Okotoks to the road to the Harry Hallis Memorial Trophy, and we'll see what they're capable of. In terms of the overall series, again, this is a thrill. I'm really excited about both these division finals because I think you've got the cream of the crop. You've got the two best teams in each division, maybe some animosity between them. Definitely on the Dogs Gulls side, they respect each other, but they don't necessarily like each other. I think they always want to face each other and prove who's on top. And I think, again, I'm not going to handicap this series, but I think you're going to get. Oh, it sounds like we've got breaking news from my office here. I think you're going to have. I think you're going to have this one's going to go 3 games as well. I think both teams are deep. Both teams do a really good job of doing the in-season adjustments as well, both in terms of bringing the academy kids and the Gulls prep kids onto the roster after late season, but also Sylvan was signing guys. I almost called him Coach Chatty, but he's GM Chatty now. Was signing guys throughout the season and bringing new guys in. So I think both those lineups are competitive. They're really good. We were talking about the Dogs offense in that first series. I don't know if they can produce that much offense, but I'm not going to bet against them either. Those bats are intimidating and scary. I think Gulls pitching is probably slightly better than the Dogs in terms of its depth. But, Dogs have won, like you said, they won a three-peat from 2022 to 2024. They know how to run a pitching staff. They know how to run a bullpen. Usually they'll get contributions from their bullpen from guys that maybe you saw a bit in the regular season. You don't know too much about them. And then, boom, there they are. And they're just dealing. So, again, I flip a coin on that one too. I think it's just going to be great baseball.
It is absolutely. Let's get to the schedule here for a minute here, Ian, because let's set the stage. And it is going to be Tuesday night matchups. Moose Jaw will play host to game 1 against Saskatoon. That's a 7:05 first pitch of Ross Wells. Meantime, Siemens Stadium will be the place to see game 1 between the Okotoks Dawgs and Sylvan Lake Gulls. That is a 7:05 first pitch. It is going to be 7:05 or 7 o'clock, I guess, in Saskatoon, but 7:05 across the board for this series. Game 2 will shift to the lower seed with Sylvan Lake and Saskatoon. And then, if necessary, game 3 will go Thursday in Moose Jaw and in Okotoks. Going to be a fantastic set of series here leading up to the championship. It'll be interesting to see, I think, Ian, from the standpoint of these are two matchups where both teams in each matchup had different paths, right? You mentioned Okotoks as an example. They swept their way through, didn't really see any real adversity, whereas Sylvan Lake had to go through some. Same thing, as much as Moose Jaw had a little bit of adversity in the early going there, they managed to kind of roll their way through to the division championship series. Meantime, Saskatoon had to really buckle down to get that. Does that play to any, is it a positive? Is it a con? What is it in your eyes, and who maybe benefits when you look at just the path to get to where we're at now?
I was trying to assess that just in my own mind, how much of a difference that game off for Okotoks and Moose Jaw will make. Probably, in my opinion, more for Moose Jaw. because they really ride their guys. They, we've talked about Weston Walls and Jacob Glazner being workhorses. They are. So I think they'll benefit from that. That said, I think the Berries have a deep pitching staff. So again, hard to really know. Okotoks and Sylvan, again, it's hard to know. Like, does the extra day off, is it create rust in a short game series, or is it rest or rest? I guess we'll see shortly.
Absolutely. And one other little factoid for everybody: when it comes to the season series between the two matchups, Okotoks took the season series with Sylvan Lake 5-3, and on the other side, Saskatoon won their season series with Moose Jaw also 5-3. But you can wipe the slate clean. Playoffs are a whole other beast, and we're going to find out again on Tuesday. Before we go, Ian, any final thoughts as we head towards round 2 and the WCBL Division Championship Series?
I can't wait. Dogs Gulls is special. We're going to see if the Dogs can get back on track, back to their championship level that they maintain as a standard. The Gulls, we saw how they lost. It wasn't just that they lost in the final; it was how they lost. One strike away from winning it all, and not only winning it all, but from winning every game in the playoffs. They're hungry. They want it. This is a franchise that desperately wants that. You can say the same about the Saskatoon Berries. They're new to the league, but they've been, in a lot of respects, the class of the league, certainly the East Division. And then Moose Jaw, they came painfully close to winning it, two of the 2022 and 2024. They want to make a run. They want to make their stamp on it. So let the chips fall where they may.
4 hungry teams set to do battle again Tuesday. If you're around the ballpark, make sure you get your tickets because they're going to be going fast. And if you can't, you can, of course, check them out. On Flow College is where you'll be able to check all the action out. Again, Ian, appreciate you taking a few minutes and joining us for the WCBL Championship Series, the Division Championship Series. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm going to go find a lozenge now. Thanks.
Fantastic stuff. And again, thanks to all of you for checking out the show. The summer is always better at the ballpark. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all a little bit later on this week for the Championship Series preview. Clark will be back as well. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks again to Ian Wilson for joining us, and to the IKS media team for sharing the audio so that we can use it here on the pod. Now, assuming Mother Nature doesn't completely mess with the schedule, we'll be back on Friday with a championship preview edition of the show. The plan is to bring you conversations from field level with the 2 remaining teams, so stay tuned for that. As always, a tip of the cap to our Platinum supporters, the Okotoks Dawgs, for their generosity in helping us tell the game stories in our province. They help us cover costs like travel and web hosting fees. For more on our tremendous teammates or to join our roster, head to albertadugoutstories.com/supporters. Until next time, thank you for all of your support online, on social, and on air of Alberta Dugout Stories.
Let the big dog eat! Wait a minute!